Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips. This video is brought to you by Wellness Forum Health, Wellness Forum Institute for Health Studies, our healthcare company, and our professional training school for health professionals. So a couple of announcements this weekend. Optimal Health and Life with Pam Part 2, which is healthy aging. I don't know about you guys, but I have decided I am living at home until I die. No nursing homes and hospital runs for me. So if you want to learn how to do that, I'm going to share everything I know about it with you Friday night and Saturday. We'll record it in case you can't join us live. Second thing, if you're not a member of Wellness Forum and you're thinking, gosh, I might like to check it out, free tour of our resources, websites, video platforms on December 5th at 1 o'clock Eastern. All you have to do is send me an email. It is free, and I have a little general health Q&A afterwards, so you can get some questions answered if you want to join us for that. December 13th is our next free workshop for healthcare workers, and don't forget holiday cookies. We're shipping them now, and I can send you the recipe, the cost, all that kind of stuff. If you're interested in the stuff that we do, just send me an email at pampopper@msn.com. All right, interesting stuff to talk about today. So we just concluded our Prevent Cancer campaign for 2023. And by the way, if you haven't redeemed your certificate, you have a few days left to do it, to redeem your gift card. So just a reminder. But anyway, during the campaign, I wrote several articles and I created several videos. Many of you probably saw them concerning the overdiagnosis of cancer and how common overtreatment, sometimes dangerous and harmful overtreatment, has become. Overdiagnosis and overtreatment, however, is not just limited to cancer. It's common in other areas of health as well. Take hypothyroidism, for example. Thyroxine and levothyroxine, prescribed for treatment of hypothyroidism, are two of the 10 most commonly prescribed drugs in the US. Hypothyroidism is diagnosed with a blood test that measures thyroid-stimulating hormone, or TSH. Elevated levels can be an indicator for hypothyroidism, but elevated TSH does not necessarily mean that a person has hypothyroidism. There are many causes of TSH levels outside of reference ranges, and most of them don't have anything to do with hypothyroidism at all. So I'm going to give you what some of those factors are that you should know about. Now, the first thing is it's only recently that doctors started measuring TSH levels in asymptomatic people. Lab results, which used to be 2 to 3 pages in length, have gotten longer and longer as more and more biomarkers are being measured in mostly healthy people. It's a process that we refer to as disease mongering. The harder doctors look for abnormalities, the more they find, and diagnosing people with more and more conditions is profitable for both medical centers and drug companies. The U.S. Preventive Services Task Force advises against testing asymptomatic adults for thyroid function. Another issue is changing reference ranges, which affects all kinds of conditions. Over the last 3 decades, the upper reference limit for TSH has gradually been lowered from 10 to between 2.5 and 3.5. The change was not in response to evidence that people within the former reference ranges were actually undiagnosed hypothyroid patients. It was due to increased sensitivity of the assays and committees staffed with people who work for companies that make drugs to treat hypothyroidism. In 2002, the American Association of Clinical Endocrinologists suggested that the upper limit for TSH should be lowered to 3.0. Now, it was significantly lower than it had been for a very long time. Very little consideration, if any, is given to the fact that many factors influence TSH levels, including ethnicity, iodine intake, gender. Women generally test higher than men, pregnancy, and body mass index. TSH is elevated in obese people, and it doesn't reflect hypothyroidism as much as the body's efforts to compensate for excess weight. In fact, while obesity is sometimes attributed in part to hypothyroidism, the reverse can also be true. People who lose weight usually have lowered TSH levels as weight is lost, and lifestyle changes such as increased physical activity can lower TSH levels even if the person doesn't end up losing any weight. TSH levels increase as people age, and studies of centenarians show that higher TSH levels are associated with increased longevity. It's particularly dangerous to overdiagnose and overtreat hypothyroidism in the elderly, since overtreatment can cause cardiac arrhythmias and decreased bone density. Time of day matters too. Early in the morning and at night, TSH is much higher than it is in the afternoon. Lack of sleep can cause TSH levels to be significantly higher in the morning as well. So the actual time of the blood test can make a big difference. TSH fluctuates based on the time of year, rising higher in the winter and then lowering as the weather becomes warmer. Researchers living in the Arctic are known to have significantly higher TSH levels than people living in warmer areas of the world. A combination of changed reference ranges and ignoring other factors that influence blood test results has led to considerable overdiagnosing and overmedicating of adults for hypothyroidism. Asymptomatic adults are almost always better off not having TSH measured. Asymptomatic adults with elevated TSH based on today's reference ranges should generally be left alone. Adults with symptoms and elevated TSH levels should first be counseled on how to improve their health in order to lower their TSH and to protect their thyroid before prescribing medication. Many people will not require treatment if they change their diets, lose weight, exercise, and make other important changes to their habits and their health. Medication for hypothyroidism should be reserved for only those individuals who have symptoms and for whom diet and lifestyle changes have not resolved their issues. The decision to take medication should be really carefully considered because, in our experience, the longer a person is medicated, the more difficult it is to discontinue the medication. And we've had this happen in many cases, by the way, over the years, where somebody finds out because of all these factors that I've been sharing with you that, gosh, I never should have been medicated in the first place, but that was 10 years ago. Sometimes people can successfully wean themselves off of the medication, but it's not all the time. So if you are suspecting that something might be going on with your thyroid, first make all the necessary changes. If you had an incidental finding, nothing's the matter with your thyroid, you're fine, but they're telling you that your TSH is a little high, please keep in mind some of the things that I mentioned. I suspect that this is an article that people will have a lot of interest in since these are very, very commonly prescribed drugs. So I'm going to put this in next week's newsletter along with all of the references, so you can see it there if you're interested in learning more. That's all for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it, and I will be back to you tomorrow with more news.